Fear can either fuel you or destroy you, and how you manage that is up to you. So it is my goal to help give you some tips, tools, and techniques that's gonna allow you to be able to face your fears, help you be able to identify those triggers so that when the trauma is recreated, whether it be unconscious or conscious, you're able to manage your emotions in such a way that you can come out of this limitation, is what it feels like, in this hypersensitive empath role, and be able to be empowered in your wholeness, your completeness, and your oneness, so that you can go forward living a life that was meant for you. Hello, fellow flames. In case we haven't met, my name is Dr. Harmony, and I will help you live fearless, live loved, and live free. If you're new to my channel, welcome. And if you're returning, welcome back. Make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so that you know when all my videos and content come live. Today, I'm going to share with you 5 steps that can help you heal the emotional triggers so that you can stop getting triggered, you can identify the emotions, and that you can heal your trauma so that you can go forward living a life that you came here to experience as a high vibrational being and stop being limited based on your hypersensitivity. So stay tuned because I cannot wait to share more with you. So if you're just getting tuned into this, make sure to check out this series for Healing for Empaths playlist that I'll make sure you have links above or below. Before we get started in the 5 steps to help you heal your emotional triggers, I want to remind you that if you've not already heard, we will be in Ridgefield, Connecticut on November the 4th and the 5th. And there we will be doing live workshops and also live sessions. Julian will be doing body attunement sessions, and I will be doing some live readings in person and private. And then we'll have a workshop that we're each doing, and he's doing a Healing for Empaths workshop. And it's in the Angel Co-op that is in Ridgefield, Connecticut on the 4th and the 5th of November. You can check out the links below. You can actually register there below. And we hope to see you there and can meet you in person. And also make sure to check out Julian's body attunement healing session that he did for you guys. We'll make sure you have a link above and below where he gave you some tips, tools, and techniques and walked you through some things in order to integrate your body, your breath, your brain, and your being, bringing that into balance through some Qigong exercises, some yoga techniques, and some modern fitness science that can really help you heal this inner state so that you can find the wholeness, the completeness, the oneness, the balance in your inner system that is being traumatized over and over, so you can find calmness and stillness within so you can live and get back to living a normal life. Okay, so let's dive into this idea of healing emotional triggers that keep happening. And I'm going to give you 5 steps that you can work through this process to be able to actually reprogram your trauma so that you're able to basically go through a process of releasing and healing the triggers that keep showing up. So before we talk about the 5 steps, I want to briefly talk about the triggers, because there are a lot of triggers that could be coming into and playing a factor in this. First of all, know at the core of a trigger and a core of any type of a physical symptom that you might have, which can occur, is there usually an underlying core fear that's connected to the issue or the trigger. And those things are real. They're running either consciously or unconsciously, and that can be both. But what happens is either way, it's as if the trauma is still occurring in your system and you're recreating it. And it actually begins to create such a response mechanism that the emotions you have that get re-traumatized every time an experience or reflection, your twin flame or someone shows up that recreates the original trauma, then you're basically re-triggering not just that experience. What you're triggering is all the way back to wherever that original emotion became a pattern that you took on as a belief system, and the internalization of the emotion that was never processed correctly. And so I talked about how to process these emotions in one of the videos a couple of weeks ago. So in that playlist, make sure to check that out. But these thoughts, feelings, emotions, and the stimuli that takes place in the physical response of your body in that fight or flight mode is real. I mean, you can get real symptoms that come up physically, such as, anxiety and a sense of shortness of breath, dizziness, even chest pains, like all kinds of things that can take place inside of your body due to the fact that your body is operating in that state of fear constantly. And so when it comes to the emotions, I mean, we have a lot of emotions out there. I'm going to talk a little bit about here a couple of the big ones, and that is, abandonment. And I talked also in a couple weeks ago about how that a lot of the abandonment and the rejection comes from us separating from the emotion to begin with. And therefore, we're rejecting our ability to actually identify with that emotion. But then we have people and experiencing, especially in this twin flame journey, that's constantly triggering you and creating that same feeling of rejection. So you really need to, and the number one step here is identify your emotion. So you need to identify what emotions are constantly running and what is being brought up. And then the goal in that, though, is to get to the core of, again, where that originally started. And so with that, then the second step in this would be to clarify your response to the emotion. Get really clear on what it is that every time that trigger comes in, the emotion comes up, and let's say rejection in this place. And actually, the second one I was going to talk about was anger, because I'm actually going to do like how to manage anger, because anger tends to be a huge one that people have on this journey, because they're constantly flared up through their emotions because they're not being acknowledged, heard, understood for yourself. You're not listening to yourself. So you feel that rejection that creates anger in it, and then that anger builds up. And then every time you get angry, it's not just that time, it's the entire anger that you felt from every experience coming out all at the same time. And then what happens is that plays havoc on the nervous system and is constantly stimulating the nervous system. And we build that up, and that's where this rage can basically come out. So I'm going to actually give you some tips on how to manage anger in another video. So pay attention to that one coming up in the next week or two. But regardless, let's talk about the rejection in this one. So, every time you feel rejected, identify with that emotion, clarify your response to that being rejected. So how are you responding every time you're rejected? Now, once you get that and you've identified it's, rejection, and keep in mind, you might be feeling abandoned, but more of what's the emotion behind it. And then most importantly, how are you reacting? Are you reacting out of anger, fear? Or are you taking a pause and stepping back and responding from it from a place of more love than the wound? Because as long as you're still allowing and being triggered by the wound and you're responding from a place of being wounded, you're re-traumatizing yourself and you're allowing these things to reoccur. So basically, to change your response is a piece of this. So clarifying how you respond to the emotion once the emotion is identified in step 2. Step 3 is to recall the experience. And what I mean by that is being able to take yourself back into a recollection of the first time you ever experienced the sense of rejection. What was going on? Connecting to your heart, closing your eyes, feeling your body without judgment or without your brain and conscious mind trying to create something. Ask your heart, ask your higher self, ask your guides to reveal to you when was the first time you ever felt an experience occurred that made you feel rejection. And then allow yourself just to start the awareness, like those thoughts, those feelings, emotions that come up, and it'll take you back to when you felt it. And this is something I work with my clients all the time through this. So you can go through this process. And obviously, if this is something you need assistance with, obviously you can reach out for a session as well. So you can find those links below. Myself and Julian both do this work. So going back to where it started, and then from there, you need to recollect your power. This is number 4. Recollect the power you lost at the original experience, the original episode that caused you to get triggered. And then when you go back to that original experience, what happened? And you can come into this place of accepting it, not judging it, and collecting your fragments, collecting the energy out of it, now you're retaking your power and intentionally saying, and call back your power. And then in the fifth one is you're reprogramming your memory pattern of that. So that now that you can identify, which is 75% of it is the awareness of where it started. 25% then is reprogramming your response every time going forward that you get re-triggered. And so every time you go forward and you get re-triggered, now you can recall like where it started and what your response was. Now you can start to implement a new response and create new mechanisms of coping in it that I talked about in that video a couple weeks ago, that you can begin to identify it, you can begin to respond and more favorably to it, and you can use it as your fuel and not as, something that's to you, but for you. And then you'll reprogram it, and before you know it, you have neutralized the experience and you've neutralized the fear in that, and you can no longer be triggered once you have healed that. And this is a piece of the healing that I'm talking about. So please let me know how this series is going for you. If this has helped you, let me know what emotions are coming up for you that you need to basically re-clarify your responses and recall the experience and recollect your power. And don't forget to check out the links below to hopefully see us in Connecticut coming up in the 4th and the 5th, which will actually be starting tomorrow. So I hope to see you in Connecticut if that's somewhere you're in the area. And check out all the links and the ways to glow forward with us below. May you always face your fears, find freedom, and glow forward on fire. Namaste.